Welcome to the Life of Being podcast, where we talk about all things life from a healthcare perspective all around the world. I'm your host, Kelly Tan, and in each episode, we'll explore stories, science, and wisdom to help you live well, think deeper, and express life fully. Let's begin. Today, we're excited to have Dr. MaryAnne Shiozawa joining us from London. Dr. MaryAnne graduated in 1997 from Life University. She's a pediatric and pregnancy chiropractor, as well as a certified animal chiropractor. After 11 years of practicing in New York City, she relocated to Paris in 2009 with her young family, where she practiced for 3 years before settling in London in 2012. Since then, she has run her home-based practice while also teaching pediatric seminars and sharing her passion with students and young chiropractors about how chiropractic is one of the greatest jobs in the world. Dr. MaryAnne, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm really grateful to be invited, and I love talking about chiropractic. So this is a joy for me.
That's great. I'm excited to dive into your story. Shall we start by you sharing your story in terms of how you got into chiropractic? When did you decide to focus more on the pediatric and pregnancy, and also further studying animal chiropractic? I'd also like to understand your timeline between when did you decided that this is a time to move to a different country and practice.
I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor pretty early on. I was about my first introduction to chiropractic. I was about 11 or 12 years old, something like that. And my younger sister, was part of a soccer team, football. Well, in Europe, it's called football. So in America, it's soccer. And it was like yeah, it's kind of confusing. And the girls would be on the team year round. And so one of the girls on the team, her father was a chiropractor. He would, before, during, and after the matches, on the Sunday afternoon when we would meet every weekend, I would watch him adjust the girls on the grass on the field. And I just thought that was like really intriguing. It was something that I noticed, and then I just was like, that looks super cool. So as a 12-year-old, something was already sparking, something was speaking to me, to my healing soul, I guess. And then my mom, pretty much everyone on that team was a practice member, or family practice members of that chiropractor. So he had a huge family practice. And then I got older and I would get adjusted quite regularly. And I didn't know why. I knew that I felt good. I enjoyed it, but I was too young, I think, to really understand why my mom brought us, the kids. I had two brothers and a sister. Then I got a little older and I started babysitting for his family. So he has 5 kids. And one particular night, I was about 14, 15 years old, and there's 4 girls and 1 boy. And that boy, he was about 7 years old. He comes up to me one night when I was babysitting and says, "MaryAnne, I have a headache." And I said, "Oh, okay, let's go and find some medicine. Let's go to your medicine cabinet." And then his sisters, the 2 older ones, 10 years old and 9 years old, they said, "Oh, we don't have a medicine cabinet." They said just like that, like it was nothing, and I was like, "Oh, okay. You don't have a medicine cabinet. Okay, so then what do you do when you're sick?" And they're like, "Oh, our daddy adjusts us." And this conversation must have been so, I remember this moment like forever. And this is pretty much, I feel like, almost exactly verbatim how it went. I just was like, "Oh, okay. What do you do when you get sick?" And they just went, "Our daddy adjusts us." And these girls are 10 and 10 and 9 years old. And I have kids now, and I'm thinking, for a child at that age to have that level of knowledge and confidence stood out to me. And I always thought that family had something different about them. There was something different in the way that they were they were exuding health and confidence and happiness. And I wanted that. And then that night is the night that changed my life, because I spent the rest of the evening talking to those girls in their bedroom in the dark. It was like, I'm sure it was like 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. And they told me the chiropractic story, and it was life-changing. And I just thought, wow. And the thing is, as a 14-year-old, I was in high school, things made more sense to me, and so I just thought, this is fascinating. And then when the parents came home and the chiropractor dad drove me home, and in the car, I said, "I think I want to be a chiropractor." And he's like, "Oh, really? Okay, well, here we go. You're going to go to Life University, or Life College at the time, And, and I was like, I mean, and I was not academic at all. I hated school. I hated science. I mean, I loved animals and biology, but, I just didn't like school. So I thought, oh, I'll never become a chiropractor. You have to be really, really smart. So anyway, here I am almost 30 years later. And that was, I think for me, that was this pull, I felt it deep inside of myself that it was who I was and who I was born to be, because I always had a sense of connecting with nature, connecting with people. And also I always loved to meet people and be with people and just see the greatness in people. So my family and my parents always told me, like, when you were a kid, you were always wanting people to be better. You always helped people be better. You always wanted to contribute. And, I didn't know it at the time. So yeah, that was something that I always wanted to do from age 14, 15. I took my undergrad credits degree, and then I went to chiropractic school. I was about 20 years old, and that's really, really young. Most of my friends were like 25, 26. So that was my whole thing. And like I said, I loved kids, babysat all the time. And Dr. Jeannie Ohm, I had met her when I was a student. I had met Dr. Larry Webster, who developed the Webster technique, and he created the ICPA in 1996 or 1997, in the mid 90s. And I graduated from school in 1997 from Life University. And when Dr. Larry Webster died unexpectedly, Jeannie Ohm took over the ICPA, the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association. And she spoke at a seminar. I was still a student, and I remember how dynamic she was, how enormous her energy was. And she said, we got to do it for the kids. This world is going to get worse before it gets better, and children really need us. And I just stepped up, and I was like, I want to adjust as many kids as possible. And I love it. It's great. And then with the animal chiropractic, I've always loved animals. I've always loved to palpate, any spine. And, I think that's what it is about learning. You got to be curious and never stop being curious. To this day, I'm still learning. And I decided to get my certification officially as an animal chiropractor in 2021 during COVID, just to make it official. And I practiced in New York City. I practiced a little bit in Paris. It was very low, I was adjusting people out of my house. And then here I am. It's been 14 years in London. And, I have a home practice here. You can see the adjusting table behind me. Thanks. And so that's the gist of it.
Was there any particular moment that you felt like, okay, now's the time to actually change, or is it more just family relocating that brought your career to all over the world?
Yeah, I think that a lot of women who, think about their careers and thinking about wanting a family, et cetera, I think it's a conversation that a lot of us women go through. And I had a very unexpected turn when I was practicing. I had my practice in New York City when I met my husband and I got pregnant. We wanted to start having a family right away. And originally what I wanted to do was hire an associate and take maternity leave and, just that kind of thing. But then I realized when I was about 5 or 6 months pregnant, I suddenly had this realization that I just didn't want to own the practice. I just wanted to be a full-time mom. I didn't want to even think about practicing. And that doesn't mean that I stop adjusting people. You know what I mean? So it's like you can have a practice and have a practice, which is your business, and you've got your office, et cetera, but that doesn't stop someone being a chiropractor. It doesn't stop who you are, and it doesn't stop you from adjusting as many spines as you want. So it doesn't have to look a certain way. And I had a really hard time struggling with my identity when I realized it was like this huge force of realization that came into my heart. It was so powerful because I remember this, I was sitting in my office. after a long day. I was exhausted. I'm pregnant. And I sat there at my desk and I just started crying. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm just sitting there alone in my office. And I'm just like, I felt that all my energy was going into my baby. I felt all of who I was shift from chiropractor and practice owner and that was what I was devoted all of my energy before meeting my husband or before getting pregnant. And then suddenly there was this huge force that just went straight into my body, into my baby. And it was like, my heart was just saying, you just want to be a mom. And it was such a powerful, energy rich vision and desire. And I came home that night and I'm crying and I told my husband, he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? He's like, oh my God, she's pregnant. She's totally hormonal. And I said, I don't know what you're going to think about this, but I just want to be a full-time mom. And he's like, oh, that's all you're worried about, what you're crying about? He's like, that's actually, I prefer that. I want to support you. I want to support you in any way that you want. And if you want to be a mom and you just want to take care of our baby, then I love you for that. And I was so blessed. So I'm very blessed that I was able to do that. So I transformed my practice. I actually could not find somebody. It was so hard to find somebody who had the same philosophy and same vision as me. And so I ended up just transferring all my patients to everyone like in the area. And so that for me was a huge shift in the transformation of who I was in my identity as a mother and as a chiropractor. And it took me about 8 months after my daughter was born that it was a struggle. It was like I was like, who am I? It was a really big challenge. And I had to heal from that. I had to find my own peace to give myself permission to because, when you're in school, like I've been wanting to be a chiropractor since age 14. And when you're just focused 100% on that vision, that career, and then suddenly in a moment, it changes, it shifts. I mean, it's a transformation going from not being a mother to being a mother. It was powerful. And yet I knew that that's what I wanted. And if I went back and did it again, that's exactly what I would have done. Every woman's different. Like I know a lot of friends who have babies and they keep their practice and they work with the baby, in the practice and everything like that. And I think that that's fantastic. And for me, I just didn't want to do that. And so I was focused on building up a family, and all of our choices, all of my vision of what I wanted to do was to do the best thing for me and my family, my husband and our children. And I feel, again, I'm really lucky that I was able to do that. And my husband's British. So we kind of thought, we knew that we had an idea that we wanted to move from New York. And I'm also half French. So I wanted to immerse my whole family into France. And I was just like, let's go to Paris. So we just moved to Paris. At that time, I had my daughter and my son. My son was just born. And then it was one of those things where I was basically winging it. And then I got back into adjusting people. I told people like, I'm a pediatric chiropractor and I love kids. And then the school where my kids were going, my daughter, they were very much into natural, everything natural. And it was a special school. It was a really, really great school it's called Living School. And the director, the creator of that school, she was really into just like the eco preservation of, everything that she does and chooses, and also allowing for children to really express themselves in a way that has them be in their most energy rich state, like to really support them in that. And so it's less focus on academics and then much more focus about like who you are and how you want to be when you're, 7 years old and under. So they were really supportive they loved that I was a chiropractor. And so I really had a lot of moms and kids that came over in my house. And I was just like, I kind of had to like, I'm not really practicing. And I felt like a little bit guilty that I was charging them. And she's like, no, they're like, no, just take it. So, I mean, I was just charging them like 25 euros or something like that, like super cheap, But it was, again, I wasn't officially practicing. So I wasn't building a business. That was really amazing because that experience of removing the money aspect of it was unique in a sense that that I was just able to tell people just directly and openly and truthfully, like chiropractic adjustments are so that your health and your nervous system is working as best it can be. So that whole obstacle of, oh, I need to make money, I need patience, that kind of thing, like that never came in. So that was a really good training for me, because I took that experience, and now being in practice again, obviously I'm able to just go from that, where it's not about, if you practice and you serve from your heart, then people will come.
It sounds like it's just more on because you devoted a whole life on, I'm going to be a chiropractor, this is my vision, and then one day be like, okay, no, I'm not going to be a chiropractor anymore. And you felt like that period was dark for you because you felt guilty of not being a chiropractor and actually devoting your whole energy to being a mom. Do you feel like that is the case, or do you feel like also there's something else that is into the factor?
That was pretty much what it was. I think for me, it was really unexpected because, like you said, I had a vision. I was really ambitious. When you're in New York City, it's like, go, 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 go. It's all about, I had this beautiful practice and I put so much of my heart and soul into it. And it was awesome. It was like some of the best years of my life, and I loved it. It was so great. And I had it I really could visually see myself stepping into, okay, this is how I want my life to be. So for me, I thought, oh, I'm going to have this practice, and I could see myself having, when I have a baby, I'm going to bring the baby to my practice. I'm going to, I'm like, it's like, no problem. I'm thinking, it's just going to be totally like seamless. Yes. So that's why it was such a crystal clear vision in my mind, that when I had this force, it was like, it wasn't just a thought. It was like this full body energetic force that just fell on me where I just was like, it completely deleted, like wiped out that vision, that original vision. So it was a shock, it was a shock. And for me as a new mother, after I gave birth and I became a new mother, motherhood, when you become a new mother, women go through a lot of different identity shifts. Women go through career shifts. Women go through, we have to go through so much in terms of our bodies, our minds, our brains are changed throughout pregnancy, and then when you become a mother. And we know this now, from research. And my personal story was that it was a really tough identity shift to accept, like to give myself permission. I was searching like for answers, like, where is the permission? Where's the permission that it's okay? Like you said the guilt, that's a really good word. I felt guilty, like that I let somebody down and stuff. And no, actually the permission came from myself, and the guilt, there was no guilt, no guilt necessary involved, but I had to go through that. I had to go through this experience to come to that point by myself. And it took like, 8 months, 9 months, like most of a year. I'm grateful for that experience because I now take care of a lot of pregnant women who are young. They've been working and working and working, up until literally the 37th week of pregnancy, which, by the way, I don't recommend. And they have the baby. They have to heal from the birth, whether it was a smooth birth or traumatic birth. And then they like come in and they're crying because nobody understands. Their husband certainly doesn't understand that they're just going through this like identity crisis. And I'm just like, okay, just breathe. This is normal. And then they're like, oh my God. And no one told me this. No one told me this. So I'm able to give them a different perspective. And I tell them, I'm giving them permission to give themselves permission that whatever they choose, it's okay. And they're going to figure it out. So yeah, it's part of the practice.
What did you do to slowly find your identity, and what sort of advice you give moms, especially first-time moms then?
That's a good question. So, okay, on a practical level, get adjusted. Yeah, like I mean, come on, this is what we're here, what we're talking about, right? And
Exactly.
the truth is, I mean, the real hard truth is if you're a chiropractor listening to this, or if you are somebody who is not a chiropractor listening to this, the answer is get adjusted on a practical level. Because, and I tell this to my pregnant patients, every week I got adjusted every single week with my baby. And every week it was my anchor. It was a place where I knew that my nervous system, my body, my mind, my heart, everything would become aligned within that adjustment. And that was my anchor. It's not because I was in pain or, I needed something like stretched or whatever. It was nothing like that. It was 100% to make sure that I had my nervous system was calm, because my baby also was getting adjusted, and my baby was growing literally so much every week, as babies do. And so my nervous system and the baby's nervous system are constantly in a state of entrainment and one. And I was able to find so much peace and energy and flow in my life in that time of transition, because I know 100% that it's because I got adjusted regularly. 100%. And inside of that, so on that practical level, which was so essential for me, I trusted my instinct. I trusted my intuition. And I continued I was always trusting my baby's cues. I was trusting my own cues. When I needed a break, when I was completely going crazy, I just handed the baby to my husband, even though she was crying. And I just went out for a 10-minute walk with my dog. I had a dog too. Just trusting just the flow and the rhythm of what's going on, and trust your intuition. If something just doesn't feel right for you, don't ignore that. That is your truth, and nobody can tell you what is your truth. So, and the truth is louder when your nervous system is aligned.
With the world where people are ignoring signs of their body signal, what sort of things you will actually advise people like them, that they just ignore body signal, they ignore their intuition? Is there anything they can actually mindset shift, or anything they can do to help with that?
So the quickest and easiest thing is move your body, movement, dance, put some music on, get sensory, focus on conscious breathing. So breathing in the nose, out the mouth, nice slow breaths, maybe 4 seconds in and just calmly 4 seconds out. There is a technique called somato respiratory integration, or SRI, which was created and developed by Dr. Donnie Epstein, who also developed and created network spinal technique, which is largely the technique that I do. And SRI is it's somato, which is body, respiratory, obviously breath, and integrating. And it's not breath work. Donnie says that he doesn't like calling it, he doesn't call it breath work, because breathing is not supposed to be work, especially when you want to do breathing to create more ease. So conscious breathing is healing, and it instantly calms your nervous system. And so it's not work. Do you know what I mean? So why would you call it breath work?
That's a good one.
So yeah, words are really important. And I'm very much the pedant, because everyone and I'm not sure as much in the States because I haven't practiced there in a while, but I think that it's there too. Most chiropractors in this country and in France, I know they use the word treatment, or in France, traitement. And in the UK, the word for chiropractic adjustment is treatment. And it's it puts chiropractic inside this whole idea of symptom care and fixing something, and that's not chiropractic. So I don't know where the word I'm 100% sure, or 99.9% sure, that DD Palmer and BJ Palmer did not use the word treatment. Right? It's a chiropractic adjustment. Delivering the chiropractic adjustment. And so I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
No. I mean, yeah.
But it's just that the terminologies are so important, and we have to really be aware of who we are in chiropractic. And I do find I think one of what we were going to discuss is that I was really surprised at the difference between the chiropractors from the States and the US. And I surrounded myself only because I was really guided to who and how I was taught. I surrounded myself with chiropractors that were really philosophically principled and vitalistic. And then I came to the UK, and the whole regulatory body and the schools are teaching something completely different, which is really mechanistic, and it's all about back pain and neck pain and symptom care. Yeah, it's a little bit of a disappointment. And so I'm totally determined, and that's why my seminars that I teach with my friend MaryAnne Stevens, we teach pediatric seminars, and we have 3 modules, and we come from a salutogenic model. So we teach a lot of philosophy, we teach a little bit of history, and we're going into, why chiropractic was named chiropractic, for example. It's not osteopathy, naturopathy, allopathy. It's like the suffix pathy in Greek means what? Disease. So, the founders of chiropractic were like, it's not about disease. It's about the maintenance, the source of health, and the maintenance and the support of how to be healthy, not treating disease.
If there's a student that's listening to this episode and they're in an environment where it's super mechanistic, they've never heard of vitalistic, what is one resource or even a few books that you recommend them to start with?
Oh God, there's so many. So I love books. I definitely encourage reading books. The most important thing, I think, and it's much more direct, is surround yourself with people who are vitalistic chiropractors. Because you can, in reading, you can, as a student, you're constantly reading, you're studying, you're isolating yourself, you're alone, and you're in your own thoughts. But when you engage and you're in person with people connecting with vitalistic chiropractors, go to the UCA, United Chiropractic Association spring conference and the October Chiropractic Essentials conference. Go find chiropractors that have different views. And really the truth of the matter is that there are chiropractors that just either choose to be mechanistic, or they don't even know that there's a vitalistic aspect of it. But find out and really understand that chiropractic is so much more than back pain and neck pain. It's a whole other world, and it is life-changing for people, and you will help change people's lives. And limiting yourself to just mechanistic chiropractic is just a tiny little blip. It doesn't even like light the candle, in my opinion.
If you have a billboard where everyone in the world can see your message, what will you say then?
You were born to be healthy.
Now we're coming towards the end of the conversation. I know we just started. There's so much things that we can just go on for hours and hours, but I will respect time. Where would be the best place to find you if people like to reach out and talk more about chiropractic then?
You can go on Facebook. My tag name is always Dr._MaryAnne. You can find me on Instagram. It's Dr._MaryAnne, MaryAnne. My website is shiozawawellness.com. And I have a Substack. I don't post as much as I want to. And I did a podcast years ago. Called You're Doing Great, Mom. And the whole theme or vision of that podcast was to interview moms and to talk about their experiences, about that specific topic of becoming a mother. And that's why I know, like, women, becoming a mother is a really, really huge, probably the toughest part of a woman's life when she goes through that.
Exactly.
So anyway, so those are the places that you can find me.
Yeah, I'll leave all your information into the description so they can reach out to you and also connect about chiropractic, or even moms, they want to know more information. Before we stop recording, what would be one sentence, one phrase you would leave to the listeners?
God, you're a really tough interviewer.
Already?
No, I'm just kidding. I think it's something that I would tell my children, find something that you love, and don't rush. It doesn't matter how long it takes for you to find that, and never let anybody say that you can't, because you can't do it.
That's a really great way to end the podcast. Thanks so much for your time, Dr. MaryAnne, and I know that so much thing we're gonna dive in to in the future. Hope that everyone gain your perspective, moms, kids, chiropractic, and definitely shoot you a message and talk more about chiropractic.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I had a great time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Life of Being podcast. Let us know what is your one key takeaway from this episode. And if this conversation inspired you, share it with a friend who might find it helpful today. Until next time, take care of your health and take care of your being.